Hello. Hi. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and today we're doing a requested video. This is going to be the second installment in my series for beauty planning. Today I'm going to walk you through how I build seasonal wish lists, how I manage my beauty collection, and also my beauty budget. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll stick around, hang out, grab a beverage. I've got mine in my favorite Calamity Wear mug that we're going to talk about in my favorites next. So I'm excited to hang out and do this. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Some disclaimers. My notes are off to the side here. I didn't want to have my laptop in my lap, one, because it's dying, but also because it changes the lighting. So I'm going to be looking off to make sure that I hit all of my notes. I've also tried my best to organize my thoughts for this video. If there are any questions coming out of this video or topics from this video that you want me to kind of pull out and do more in-depth thought process around, please let me know down below. There's also video request forms where you can request videos in addition to that. So that being said, let's dive into this. This came about because I treat my beauty collection the same way that I treat my clothing, which is to build seasonal wish lists. Now, this is because I have always lived in climates that the seasons are very different. So very, very cold in the winter, starting to warm up in the spring, very hot in the summer, start to cool down in the fall. So my clothing has always changed with the seasons on what I need to wear based on the elements. And I also have a background in fashion, and my mind kind of works in seasons like that, like fall, winter, spring, summer. So in order to keep this doable and not too much work for myself, I have split it into 2 seasons. And I mentioned this in that first Get Ready With Me where I talk about this. This comes from not having room in my closet to display all of my clothes at once. So what I will do is keep spring and summer out. And then when the seasons start to change, I'll bring fall and winter out. And I take that as an opportunity to really do inventory on my collection, see the gaps that I have, and figure out what I need to add to my wish list for that season. And we're going to get into all those details. But that's the background of where this is coming from. I've since, in the past few years, treated my makeup collection the same way. It was getting a little out of control. I feel like we all fell victim to the beauty industry itself kind of ramping up and all of the new collections happening all the time, and trying to find a way to organize myself and not overspend and spend on things that I'm truly going to use up or get as much use out of as I can. So that's where all of this is coming from. So let's go ahead and dive into tip number 1. So tip number 1 is going to be deciding how to break up your seasons. For me, I do it 2, 1, because it's easy, 2, because even though I have very different seasons here from a climate standpoint, for me, the colors and the overall products and fashion items that I use kind of can be easily bucketed into 2. If you need 4, great. If you like to switch your colors up 4 times a year, awesome. Or on the opposite spectrum of that, if you live somewhere tropical and you have one climate all year long, this might not apply to you from breaking it up into seasons, but I think the rest of the tips will easily kind of integrate into your system. So number 1 is to define your seasons. Tip number 2 is going to be budgeting. So if you have kind of a more formalized budget, you're going to need to keep that in mind. I don't personally use a formalized budget. I'm not writing down the exact dollar amount that I can spend. Throughout the years, I have gotten myself into some trouble. So I've kind of learned from those experiences. If you have gone through those experiences, take what you have learned there, what is an appropriate amount to spend. Or if you do a formal tracking, I would apply those numbers to each season, kind of break them up throughout the year. But I don't personally do that. However, there are tips along the way that I'm going to share that kind of keep me within a reasonable amount to spend. But if you are someone who needs to stick to a more formalized budget, you need to sit down and figure out maybe what that is for the year, and then break that into seasons. Maybe you want to spend more in the fall season because that's what you love. But another tip here is to make sure that you are keeping some of that budget open for the things that you know you're going to repurchase, like concealer, mascara, skincare, body care, all of that good stuff. That is why I like to keep those repurchased items as low as possible. You'll see a lot of my skincare, I strive for $20 or less. on the concealer and mascara. I try to keep those kind of mindful depending on how long they last. So keep in mind that if you are doing a formalized budget, you are going to have to save space in that for the things that you go through and you use up. And that's also going to kind of make you start thinking of where you can save in your beauty routine versus splurge. For me, I like to save on repurchased items. I can find items that I like to repurchase that are just as effective, that I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I have to pick up my serum that I ran out of and it's $80, you know? So that exercise is going to teach you where you can save versus splurge. That's going to lead us into tip 3, which is going to be know your preferences. So this is going to be the type of formulas that you like. Maybe you like cream blush over powder blush. And when that beautiful powder blush gets dropped, you can be able to say, I'm not going to use it as much as this cream blush over here that I like just as much. Also know your color preferences. I do have it on my list to film some of the color theory stuff that we've talked about color seasons, all of that. But if you sit down with yourself, you probably already know which colors you like and which colors in which season you like. For me, sometimes that changes, and we'll get into how I plan for that. But I know the baseline of the colors that I like, and one way, if you're not sure about this, is to go through your collection and swatch them all. You'll start to see some commonalities, but you're also going to see if you swatch just the things that you're reaching for the most, those are more than likely going to be the colors that you love the best. If you like expansive colors, that's amazing. You do not have to have seasonal colors. This is just a way that I kind of align my wardrobe and my makeup together. And like I said, from a fashion standpoint, I'm kind of envisioning the vibe or the mood for the season ahead of time. We're going to get into that in a minute. But make sure that you understand your preferences so that when a new release comes out, you can easily identify if it's going to be something that you truly are interested in and it's not just hyped up on the internet. So highly encourage you to really kind of spend some time with your collection, spend some time with yourself, and think about what your preferences are in makeup products. Tip 4 is going to be formulating a strategy or a plan on how you are going to kind of organize your lists. So I have 3 apps that I use in order to do this kind of seasonal wish list. I'll pop some pictures up on the screen or maybe some screen recordings of going through my own lists. So the first one is Instagram. I use Instagram for new releases, whether it's from Trend Mood or the brand Instagram or another influencer sharing something. And how I do this is I will just save that post to a folder. And I have a folder in my Instagram called Makeup Releases. So I will save everything that I'm potentially interested in there. I also use the Sephora and Ulta Wishlist. I know that a lot of the indie brands that I talk about and that I like to purchase from are not on Sephora or Ulta, so that's where I really lean on Instagram to kind of hold that space. So those are the 2 that I save potential wishlist items to at the very beginning of planning out this thing and throughout the year. So anytime something catches my eye, I'll save it to one of those 3 places. The next app that I use is TickTick. I have been using TickTick for, like 5 years at this point. They have kind of changed their subscription, but I do believe it's $29.99 per year, or there's a monthly option. To me, this is worth it because I use it beyond just this wish list conversation. I use it for my to-do lists. It's just an easier way than the Notes app to create checklists, and then you can check them off. You can add priority. So within my wish list, I might say that these 3 things are my top priority and be able to organize them that way. You can also organize them by date, and you can also organize them however you see fit, and you can create as many lists as you want with that premium. There's also a free option for the app. You can do the same thing. You're just limited in some of the things that you can do. But I swear by TickTick. I love TickTick. Again, not just for beauty and fashion, but for my everyday life. And then the last app that we're going to talk about is Giftful, which this is more of like a polished wish list app for me. You can create multiple wish lists. I have some for just overarching fashion items if it's something that doesn't fall into a season or if it's an all year round product. I have a self-care wish list. I have a makeup wish list. You can create seasonal ones. You can add dates to them. And the beauty of this is that you can also share this wish list publicly with your spouse or your family. whoever, so that if it's time for Christmas or your birthday and you need to give someone ideas, you can send them a link and they can go to your wish list and get the specific things that you want. You can also save whatever photo you want as the thumbnail. You can include descriptions about which color and size you want, and you can link to the exact product so that when you do send it to somebody else, they can easily go get it, or you can easily shop from that app, hit the link when you're ready to purchase that item, go to it, purchase it, all good, knock it off your list. These apps have no idea who I am. I am not sponsored. I'm not affiliated. I will leave links to them down below. They're just very helpful apps for me from getting organized. These are the only apps I use when it comes to this. If you're not an app person and you want to write it down, get a notebook, start jotting this stuff down. Sometimes I like to write it down, but for the ease of being able to grab new releases right off of Instagram and then being able to easily link things, send my wish list to other people, or TickTick where I can easily manage. It's just very easy to add, delete, check off the list, etc. Organize my thoughts. These are just the ones that I prefer and I would recommend. I love them. They have done wonders for helping getting my kind of wish list thoughts out of my head and onto a tangible list. Okay, now I have brought my computer to me because this is where I want to make sure that I'm sticking to my notes. And I think we're on tip 6. This is where I really start the work of creating my seasonal wish list. And it's going to start off with a seasonal check-in and declutter. So this to me is as the season's starting to wind down. So for me going into fall, winter, it's going to be really in August where I start to do some of this work. And the first thing that I do is create a mood board. Now, Pinterest, I'm not a huge fan of, but if you curate your boards well enough, you're not going to get kind of like the 2 basic Pinterest things. You can also save images from the internet to your Pinterest board. There are plenty of tutorials on how to create mood boards here on the internet. Go check those out. But you can also use Instagram folders, your Google Drive, Photoshop, or if you're old school like me, magazine clippings and a piece of paper and a glue stick, or you keep it all in your head. But what I'm saying is going into the season, what are the vibes you're going for, the mood that you're going for, the colors that you think you're interested in, and your kind of overall look that you're trying to achieve for that season. Have that kind of in the back of your mind so that when you're going through some of these new releases or the items that you want, you can easily determine if they fall into that for you or not. I do a mixture of all these things. Sometimes I don't create a mood board. It's just all in my head. Sometimes I will create one on Pinterest. I think I popped up the kind of preliminary draft of that in my first video. All that good stuff. There's so many ways to go about that. So I like to create a mood board. Then this is the most important part. You're going to declutter and organize the collection. So whether it's clothing or beauty, you saw me do my declutter. That is the next step that I take. I will declutter my collection and also take inventory of what I have. So this is going to show me, I already have 6 berry lipsticks. I need to make the determination, I already have enough berry lipsticks, or it's not quite the berry color that I'm looking for, and kind of take note of that. I take note of these things mentally, but feel free to kind of list them out in TickTick. But what you want to do here is see where you absolutely do not need to purchase things. I do not need to purchase concealer or foundation. I did purchase one, but I've been waiting on that one. But you know what I mean? Like, I know that I don't need that. And then the other thing is that berry color. I went on a berry purchasing spree because I did not have a berry lipstick in my collection that was kind of that bright red berry, and that was a vibe that I was really looking forward to this fall. So kind of find where you have gaps in your collection, where you absolutely need to kind of halt spending. Keep that kind of in the back of your mind. Write it down in TickTick, write it down in your notes app. Keep it somewhere so that you know what you are looking for going into creating this wish list. I also like to keep in mind any trips or events that's going to require something new in the upcoming season, because you'll need to leave room in the budget for those as well. So we've already talked about leaving room in the budget for the beauty products that you continuously repurchase. But if you have a wedding coming up, you want a specific shade of lipstick or a specific eye look, and there's a palette that's perfect for that, you'll be able to set aside some of your budget knowing that you need to buy that. For me, it's really a wedding coming up, and I know that I need silver shoes as I'm a bridesmaid. So in my fashion budget, I'm leaving room for those shoes. Then you want to save kind of like that wish list. So I will even put into TikTok, I'll pop a picture up. If it's a berry lipstick and I don't know what exact berry lipstick I want, I'll put it in that wish list. Then we move into using my wish list. So I will go through and see all of the things that I've saved in Instagram or my wish list in Ulta or Sephora or even Credo Beauty, whichever you've been saving kind of the items that you're really interested in. And I will add the ones that I know for sure that I want to that wish list and tick. Sometimes I will put a priority to it so I know which ones I really want, which ones are kind of like, I want it but could be easily dissuaded not to. And this is where you're going to start managing this. So I want to say that you need to regularly comb through these wish lists. Anytime you have the urge to shop, something that I like to do is go to my wish list, look through things, kind of, you're going to change your mind on a lot of things. The mood or whatever you're going for that season or the year is going to kind of evolve as you go. So if you're combing through these regularly when you get that urge to shop, you'll be able to kind of reprioritize things. Maybe something no longer interests you anymore. Maybe you've seen some reviews and something has shot to the top. You're going to be able to kind of rejudge that list and know what you really want. And this is also going to help because I know that sometimes that list is way longer than your budget is going to allow for. There are times where I want 50, 100 things, which is like not a real way to count, but sometimes I want way more than what I know I can actually purchase. So if I prioritize or if I'm constantly combing through, there's some things I add to my wish list I totally forget about. 3 weeks I come back to it and I'm like, I don't really want that anymore. The RMS blushes are one of them. I know that I don't like powder and I've seen kind of mixed reviews on them. And while they look beautiful, I know that I would be purchasing a color that I already own in powder and I love the powder formulas I have. So that one has fallen off my list from the last video. But I also say all this because that wish list that you created, or even that saved folder on Instagram, if you're just keeping it to Instagram, combing through that is going to serve as a litmus test for you. So when something new comes out, goes viral, and you're dying to have it, I urge you to then go look at your wish list and comb through, and you might find things that fall into the same category that you're actually more excited about, that you might be able to save some money on and get the same effect. It's just a good litmus test to say, does this impulse purchase that I want to pull the trigger on mean more to me than saving up for this item? Or if I bought this, I wouldn't be able to buy 2 or 3 items on my list. Is that worth it to me? So it's a good way to check in with yourself and see what actually deserves to be on your wish list, what you actually want to spend your money on. I like to do that if I get the urge to shop or if I see something new that I'm like, I need it right now. Go check out your wish list. Go check out your saved carts. Make sure that it's not jumping the line just because someone on the internet said it was great. It's jumping the list because you truly want it and it's perfect for that mood board that you want. Go check your mood board out regularly. Does it vibe with the overall look that you're going for that season? If not, maybe save it to your wish list, revisit it, or just pass on it, Just because the internet says it's great doesn't mean that A, you don't already have it in your collection, 2, you can't achieve it with things in your collection, 3, that it's even worth the hype. I can't tell you how many products I bought into the hype and I got it and I was like, this is not for me at all. Granted, you are going to have to test things out every once in a while, but these are just ways to kind of help you wade through the noise on the internet and stay true to what you want and the look that you're going for. Then lastly, before we wrap this up, I just want to say I am purchasing throughout the seasons, throughout the year, but I like to do 2 things while I'm doing that. One is if it's something that I know I need or can't possibly imagine my makeup life without because we're dramatic like that here. If I really need it for the season and I want to have it for the entire season, like the berry lip products that I've recently purchased, I will purchase those at the beginning of the season, but I'm not spending all of my beauty budget at the beginning of the season because I'm leaving room for new releases to pop up. And I also really like to do the second thing, which is I will wait for a sale. Coming from a professional retail background, I know the general markup on products. I know that most brands, like 80 to 90% of brands, are going to have some sort of sale or discount at some point, especially if you're shopping at Ulta or Sephora. I will wait for as many things as possible for a sale or a gift card or some type of event where I'm saving money. But if it's something that I need in my hands right now, like a berry lipstick, I will go out and purchase that and wear it the whole season and be happy. But I'm not spending on my budget up front. And as much as possible, I'm waiting for sales. So keep that in mind too. You can almost always buy things on sale. I very, very rarely am buying something full price. I just can't do it. And I urge you to not do it as well. It will go on sale at some point. If it's something that's limited edition and you're really afraid of getting your hands on it, leave room in your budget because you know that you're going to want to jump on those as soon as it happens. So those are also kind of budgeting tips that I will leave you with. And so let's do a quick rundown of my tips. And again, if you have any questions, let me know down below. So I know we ran through a plethora of tips here and some details, but a quick rundown is going to be: define your seasons or how you want to split up the year for your budgeting. If you need a formal budget, create that formal budget, bucket it out, stay true to that, check in on that regularly. Next is going to be go through your collection seasonally or at least once a year. I do mine twice a year. Get familiar with your inventory, clear out things that aren't serving you, and take note of the things that you really love. Keep your repurchase items more on the budget side of things. Unless you really like to splurge on that, just know that that's going to alter the budget that you have remaining for new items in your collection. Spend time to think through what your overall aesthetic, vibe, mood, whatever you want to call it, is going to be for that season, for that year, what you're really jiving with, what really excites you, the colors. It may not be what's trendy, and that's okay. I rarely fall into trends, and we can get into that in another video, but whatever you like, that's what you need to lean into. Then create your wish list and maintain it year round. Constantly check in on your wish list. When you get the urge to shop, when you get the urge to have an impulse buy, comb through your wish list, prioritize against what you have already saved. Make sure that what you're buying truly deserves to be in your collection. And then the last one is when you go through that collection, it's not the last one, I lied. Then when you go through your collection, take notes of the gaps, what you really don't need more of. That way it can also help drive decisions about what you need to bring into your collection. And then find the apps and systems that work for you. If it's TikTok, Giftful, Instagram, the stores that you're buying from, their wish list, a notepad and a pen, whichever works for you to organize your thoughts, that is what's going to work. It doesn't have to fall into this exact process, this exact app, whatever works for you. And then last, which I will leave you on, is remember that this process does not have to be perfect. You do not have to set a date on when you're going to review your collection every 3 months, every 4 months, twice a year. You don't have to follow this to a T. You don't have to have a written wish list. These are just ways that I wanted to share with you that I kind of manage my collection, try to maintain some semblance of a budget, not buy into the hype all of the time, and determine what is worth bringing into my collection. The size of your collection is going to depend on you, your budget, what you like to play with, how big of a hobby this is for you. And again, it just doesn't need to be perfect. I cannot stress that enough. If this was helpful, please let me know down below. Again, if there's a topic that we touched on but didn't go in depth to in this video, let me know. I'm happy to film more in this series. I want to keep this up. I'm kind of thinking through how I want to share my journey in this every season. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll let me know your thoughts down below. And again, we're on a round robin filming tour today. So I said this in the last video, but next up is going to be my monthly favorites. I hope that you'll stick around for that discussion as well. Hope you're having a great week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.